Jamal in Phoenix. Jamal, you're live with Eric and Jamie.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I just got to say thank you guys so much. I've been listening to this show ever since you guys came on. I listened to the Atheist Experience first, and I listened to that on YouTube for a very long time. A very, very, very long time. And I never had the balls to call in because I feel like Matt would demolish me.
But we're much more low caliber, right? So
I was going to say we're less of a threat. He can take us on.
Yes. Yeah. No, I don't think it's anything like taking you guys on, but I just felt like Matt would literally make me walk away crying or something.
We don't want to do that to you. But let's get to what you want to talk about. What would you like to talk about?
I kind of wanted to talk about just like simple things, like why somebody would believe, because I still am a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would say the reason why I'm still a Christian is because I was raised in the church and I see so many good things. And I guess I can say that I see prayers get answered. And I wanted to talk about if that's just like do you have any sort of explanation about why some prayers get answered and some don't? Or do you feel like that's just all random, or do you just feel like it?
It depends on the prayer. So I'm sure there are a lot of people that prayed to win the lottery that didn't. And it's quite possible that the lottery winner did pray. So in that hypothetical, one prayer was answered and many weren't. And the reason that happened is because there's only the odds of winning the lottery are low. People pray and hope and wish for lots of things. And sometimes those things that they wish for happen and sometimes they don't. And that's what we call prayer.
Gotcha.
It's more than that. It's also counting the hits and ignoring the misses, right? There are people who pray for their favorite sports team every weekend, and you have to know that's bullshit, right, Jamal? Like, I mean, we can start agreeing with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I definitely can agree with that.
So if you go from there, right, if you were to plot out people's prayers and find out whether or not those prayers came true or not, you would see that graph look like what we would expect random results to look like. The deity gets lost in that margin. There's just not enough data to support the existence of a interventionary God. And on top of that, you actually also said that you saw so many good things. If a group does good things, does that mean that their beliefs are true?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I mean, I guess you can say I'm a rational Christian. I do understand the possibility of good things happening within many groups. I know the atheists, I'm not even sure if you can call that a group, but many atheists do many, many good things. I know that many Christians do many good things and bad things. I know many Muslims do many good things and bad things. And if you can say that Muslims don't do bad things all the time, that doesn't mean that their faith is true.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say the same thing about many other faiths. So,
okay. That's really good to know.
I can't accept that.
Yeah. So the first reason that you brought up was prayer being answered. Is that primarily why you're a Christian?
Yeah, I mean, when you talked about the football analogy, I guess what I classify that as not a real prayer. I know when people say that, I doubt any football fan is really getting down on their knees and doing this full 30-second to minute-long prayer about their team. I'm pretty sure it's like one of those 5-second prayers you do on the couch.
So this, I think, I was going to say, this I think is one of the fundamental things that's interesting about Christianity in America is that there's this tendency to assume that most Christians are like you, or a lot of them are mostly like you. And the diversity, as far as the practices of Christianity in our country, is wide. So I think that it is not just entirely reasonable, but somewhat evident, or rather somewhat evidenced, to believe that there are Christians that pray very, very seriously for the outcome of their football team. Tebow prayed very, very seriously for the outcome of the games he was in on the field in front of the cameras. I know people that have prayed seriously.
That's true.
I'm 1 degree removed from someone who very, very seriously prayed for the fate of their favorite soap opera characters. So varieties of people pray for a variety of things. What I'm interested in is you said something like, I wouldn't call those real prayers. And I'm wondering how you make that distinction, because you said, like a 5-second prayer you say on your couch as opposed to one on your knees. Do you just mean the sincerity of the prayer?
I guess you can say the sincerity. I do have personal experience with the different sincerities of prayers. I think prayer is like many, many things. You can be very serious about it. You can be kind of throwing them out haphazardly. You can just do a 1-second prayer. Okay, hopefully that guy doesn't hit me. You know what I mean? In a car or something like that, or maybe in a fight. But the reason why I say I do have personal experience, and I'm not sure if this is just a load of crap or not, but when I was 14 years old, if you don't mind me telling this quick story,
tell
as quick as possible. My father needed a kidney, and he needed a kidney for a very long time. He was under dialysis. He was very, very sick, and everybody in my family and the church prayed for him a lot. And that's why I kind of bring up the sincerity of prayer, because he eventually did get his kidney, and he still is alive and well today.
So, I'm happy to hear that about your father, but here's my question. If the reason that you believe, or one of the things that you use as a reason to believe that a God exists, is that there was a person who was ill, that was prayed for, that later got better. I'm happy to hear that your father is better, but if you saw a person who was ill, who was prayed for, who died of that illness, would that be evidence against the efficacy of prayer?
Technically, yes.
So when you say technically yes, why is that not the same kind of yes? Right? Like if you're trying to figure out whether prayer works, and you say, well, here's something that people are praying for, and it happened, check, that's a hit. And if you say, here's something that people are praying for, it didn't happen, X, that's a miss. If you're counting the hits and ignoring the misses, then every TV psychic you've ever seen is effectively divine. Because that's a very good way that they do that. It's a point that Eric brought up. I mean, I really want to try and get you to examine this. Why would you only count some of the evidence instead of all of the evidence that's reliable?
I guess this is kind of where the argument falls apart.
Yeah,
you got the rational mind that sees that, and they analyze all the data. And when you analyze the prayers that happen and don't happen, there's no way you can call them effective. But I guess you can. The thing that I'm holding on to, and the reason why I'd still say that I believe in prayer in general.
Can I offer something up to you, Jamal?
Of course.
Okay. So you're saying that your father got a kidney, right? I'm assuming that he did not miraculously not need a kidney anymore.
No.
And that he relied on people, science, humans, to make that happen.
Yes.
Right. You know that people get kidneys replaced every day, right?
Every single day, yeah.
Yeah, while it's wonderful that it happened, and I agree with Jamie that we're glad that it did happen, it's also not a miracle. It's something that happens every day, right? And on top of that, really, if you take the framework of the Christian, generic kind of religion and overlay that, it starts looking actually worse, because what you would have is you'd have a God that fucked up your dad's kidney in the first place. Kidneys in the first place.
Oh, I don't want to think about that.
And then relied on humans to fix it, because he wasn't going to fix it, right? I mean, if you start to work backwards from there, you realize that that God is also the cause of thousands of people dying every day from malnutrition and from disease, from starvation and drought. And yet you see white middle-class Americans praising their God for getting rid of their arthritis, right? Well,
yeah, when halfway across the world you got people starving.
Yeah.
Well, and right here in our backyards, right, we continuously see these shootings. We continuously see people coming out after saying that they've been locked in a closet and tormented their entire life until they were able to escape, right? People who are kidnapped and people who are assaulted, right? Not only would you have to contend with that God, not just seeing it, not just being able to stop it and not doing it, but actually making it happen. Right? If you believe that God did that.
Yeah,
I think as far as feeling better is concerned, I think it really feels good to say we live in a chaotic world, but out of that chaos, we've been able to build a society. We've been able to find tools and create these, like your dad's surgery, right? We were able to get there as a society, and with human hands solved that very human problem. And that's wonderful enough, isn't it? I mean, really, I got to say, that just gives me chills every time I think about it, that we were able to get there, and we're continually working so that we can stamp out the disease, so we can stamp out world hunger, so we can stamp out, all of this, what?
Sorry, what?
So we can... it's worth recognizing that not only is a God not only is a world without a God more moral, but I think it's more full of wonder, kindness, human empathy, and what we're able to do for each other. So think about that.
Well, I definitely will think about that, because I have to say that I've never had a true conversation with an atheist. I mean, I have a couple of friends that are atheists, but I would never dare to have like a deep conversation about it, because where I'm from, I'm raised in a full Christian family, and if the time came where I really started to look at everything differently, kind of like how I'm doing today. I mean, like when I was 14, I would never think of ever even speaking to an atheist. We're raised that you guys are like the worst people in the world.
Oh, dude.
And when I first watched the show, and no, not a problem. When I first when I first watched I do have to talk about the atheist experience for a moment, but when I first watched them, I started to realize, wait, these people they're not monsters. I mean, I have friends that are like them, and I kind of viewed them as monsters, and it kind of opened my eyes to they're just people as well. And
sure. I don't
know. It's just very strange to think that the church will have you believe that anything different is just horrible, and I don't think that's the case.
Yeah. Before this episode, I was actually talking to somebody about when I was on your side of things. When I was a Christian and I met an atheist, I looked at them to try and see if there was some kind of physical difference to be able to tell, no, that's an atheist. You can tell because their skin is
blue.
Yeah, or you can feel some negative or whatever. Vibes, and I think about it, and I think of the fear that I had of these people. And in reality, we're your neighbors, we're your friends, and we're your family. Yeah. And I've got to say, if I could clone you as somebody who I wish could be in people's families as a Christian, I would. Because you have not once in this conversation said, you atheists think this, right? Not once. Not once have we brought things up and you went, no, that's not a true Christian. You started to follow into the not true prayer, but if you've watched this, I'm sure you've heard of the no true Scotsman argument, right? The no true Scotsman being, well, this is, but this isn't. And it's refreshing when we see somebody who goes, you know what? Everybody can advocate their own beliefs. You don't need to put people into these straw man positions and then attack them. So,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I know,
beautiful.
I know how dangerous of a road that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to cycle back around to what you called in about, which is prayer. I'm doing my best to remember exactly where we were in that conversation, but I was trying to get you to explain why you counted some prayers as evidence of prayer and not others. Is this something that the church you belong to teaches?
Well, the church really doesn't really speak much about those kind of things. They kind of every single day is something different. And prayer is kind of one of those things that they don't really go, at least my church, they don't really go over every day. I mean, it's just prayer works. That's what they preach. Prayer works. Right. Don't doubt that. And it comes true if you believe hard enough.
Yeah. So there's something to be said here, which is that I think you can agree that there are people that pray. Do you know that there are people that pray with all their heart and their mind and their soul for something, yes, and that thing does not happen, right? So there are the most sincere prayers that are not answered. And
then we're told that maybe that's God's will and God has a bigger plan. It's kind of, I can see it now as being kind of like a scapegoat.
Yeah.
If prayers don't happen, I mean, it's
just saying.
I got this battle in my own mind that I can see the rational side and the Christian side now. I wasn't able to do that before starting to watch these kind of shows.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what they'd say after. It's God's plan, and if prayer doesn't come true, it's because God has a different plan and it's His will.
Yeah. So let me put it to you this way, and I think you've said you're starting to see this as a rational case. If there's a group of people and they believe that sacrificing a chicken is more likely to appease, the spirits of nature, we'll say, and you ask them why they believe that the spirits of nature are there and care about them, and they say, well, because when we sacrifice a chicken, good things happen to us, the things that we ask for. And you point out to them that sometimes they sacrifice a chicken and good things don't happen. Sometimes they sacrifice a chicken, good things do happen. And sometimes good things or bad things happen to them with or without the chicken. So at that point, to this hypothetical, chicken sacrificing situation, what would you think about whether or not that was sufficient evidence to believe that the spirits of nature respond to dead chickens?
I mean, you would have to say that they have no answer, and sacrificing a chicken doesn't really matter. I mean, good things, that has nothing to do with anything. That's what you'd come to that conclusion.
So now let's substitute in prayer for chicken. If you have a group of people that pray and they say, well, we believe that there is a God that answers our prayer because when we pray, good things happen. And you point out to them that, well, sometimes when they pray, good things don't happen. And sometimes when they pray, good things do happen. And sometimes even when they're not praying, good things and bad things happen. And what would you say to that group of people that said that their prayers were being answered? I'm trying not to state it too bluntly, but what's the difference?
I guess you would have to say that prayer really doesn't have much to do with it.
Right.
I hate that's the first time it's really come out of my mouth. But
yeah,
you got some applause from the studio audience.
Yeah. You're in good company, right? So what I will say is, one of the best things to do when trying to make your way through life and believe, presumably, I should ask, do you want to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible?
Most definitely.
Right. Yeah. So one of the steps that I would suggest along that way is to learn more about human biases, because we all have them, right? And I don't just mean against other people. I mean biases as far as how we afford belief, right? And so one of the things that
bias and all that kind of stuff.
And one of the things that you've said that is actually a stronger bias than confirmation bias is the bias towards what we want to have be true, right? I want there to be a good thing. Right, you can find this on game shows all the time where they're like, oh man, I hope that weird fact is true, so I'm going to say that it's true and guess it that way. And it's one of the things that you've said twice in this call, right? Like just now you went, oh man, it's the first time that came out of my mouth, and like, oh, I don't want it there. And then when Eric brought up that if there is an omniscient God, then that is also the God that's responsible for putting your father in a situation where he needed dialysis. And if I'm not mistaken, your response was, oh man, I don't want to think about that. Right? So there are a lot of things that are true that I don't want to think about. Every 4 weeks, I have to pay rent, and I do not want to think about that, and I wish it wasn't true. But at the end of the day, if I operate along the beliefs of believing what I want to be true is true, then I get evicted, right? The example that I'm giving is very, very cogent, has immediate repercussions, but if I engage in that pattern of thinking for one question, I'm more likely to engage in that same pattern of thinking for the next question. It's my mind learning how I come to conclusions and using the same models to find a truth in one situation and the next. So if you're seeking to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible, and you're coming to, the realization that, well, if I look at this from a logical perspective, what's prayer got to do with it? Then I would say maybe take a little bit of time and think about what conclusion you should come to about prayer.
I agree. I definitely agree. I mean, everything you said, it's just rooted in basic logic. I mean, A can't be A, and if something, it's a very when I take a step back and look at the whole picture about what I just said about prayer. I mean, that argument really it's very difficult to say that prayer is real. It's very, very difficult. It is.
And I mean, here's the thing. If you come to that conclusion, the world's not going to end. You're not going to stop being a good person. And you're still going to love the people that you love. You're still going to think the same things about everything else. So I'm glad that you're open. I think that you are an exemplar of the kinds of people that I wish I could talk to every day as a theist. So thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you for accepting my call. Thank you.
Of course. And we would love to accept your call again next week. Maybe.
Sure.
Take some. I mean, I'm trying not to sound like I'm assigning homework for next week, but you should go think about this, share our thoughts, connect with us on the things online. And what I would say is, I think one of the most valuable aspects of what Eric just did in reminding you that you're open to this, and that's something that's rare, and that's something that's immensely valuable.
Yes.
Is that there's going to be a part of your brain, regardless of what the most logical conclusion is, that's going to bias you in favor of what you want to be true. And there's going to be a part of that that's, fear and loathing, right, of the conclusion and of yourself, respectively. And what Eric has done is remind you that, no, you're still Jamal. You're still a good person.
Mm-hmm.
So carry
cheers,
that with
man.
you. Yeah.
And definitely. If you want to continue to talk, we like you, man. We'll take your call again. Mm-hmm. So take care, all right?
You guys didn't destroy me. Thank you.
Yeah. Big love bomb, especially big love bomb in the live chat. Take care, my man.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That was a good start.
Was an excellent call.
Right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that we can thank our call screener. We had a new person come in who's first time at the ACA, and we had all of our people who were planning on helping in the back. Mm-hmm. They all had shit come up, and so there wasn't anybody to do that. And so we had a volunteer, and in the first 10 minutes of being in the building, we're like, hey, do you want to learn how to screen calls?
Yeah.
So thank you.
So come on down, be around. That's when the opportunities arise.
Do we have the camera up in the back? Can we get a shot of the crew? Maybe later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had other stuff up, but it really doesn't matter. I do have a little bit more to say. I saw Thomas Bear walk in today. His birthday is coming up, and he actually started a Facebook. He's saying donate to the charity of his choice, which is the Atheist Community of Austin.
Oh.
And I do want to remind y'all that if you want to, you can set that up, and the money does come to us, and it really does help.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that, and it's good to remind people of that. I also want to say that I know that I've been gone for a while, but I was on an AMA this week.
Really?
Yes.
Where were you on an AMA this
I was
week?
on our Reddit. If you're not there, talkheathen.com, or not talk, what am I doing? Reddit.com/r/talkheathen. Geez, I'm dusty. It has been a while. But you know what? Do you know the kind of caliber that we've had for AMAs on our Reddits? Did you know that we had Nick Fish, the president of American Atheists? Did you know that we had Shelley Siegel? Shelley Siegel? Who's the musician?
Yes, but oh my God,
who did the score for the Atheist Experience? We've had her. We've had Genetically Modified Skeptic. We've had me. We've had Claire. We've had Anthony Magnabosco.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just fantastic. So if you haven't checked it out, do check it out. I loved it. I was answering questions. We did it for 3 hours, and I was typing furiously for 3 hours.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I can't wait to do that again, if we do that again.
And it won't be too long until I do one there as well. So
you know that I'm looking at our top 5 patrons, and 2 out of the 5 have $10 an episode donations.
Really?
Yeah.
They must be better, more intelligent, sexier people than everyone else in the world.
We absolutely love all of you. But if you want to get your name, mentioned in the middle of this episode, you still have time.